They thought ignoring you would make them forget you, but silence, my friends, has a strange way of haunting those who caused it. It doesn't chase, it doesn't argue, and it doesn't beg, but it lingers. It grows roots in their mind, weaving itself into every quiet moment they thought they'd filled with someone else. Silence is not empty. It's full of everything they tried to avoid feeling when they thought walking away from you would make life easier. You see, folks, in the beginning, you showed up. You gave your time, your warmth, your honesty. You sent the good morning texts, the check-ins, the reminders that someone still cared. You tried to meet them halfway, sometimes even more than halfway, but they met you with pride, ego, and confusion. You tried to understand them when they couldn't even understand themselves. And still, they mistook your consistency for neediness, your patience for weakness, your care for something cheap. You reached out with love, and they returned it with silence. So you did something they never expected. You went quiet. No more chasing, no more double texts, no more trying to prove your worth to someone who had already seen it and ignored it. You didn't do it out of anger. You did it out of peace. That's where your real power started. Because silence, when it comes from strength, is louder than 1,000 explanations. When you stopped talking, they stopped having control over your energy. You became an unanswered question in their mind, and folks, human beings hate unanswered questions. At first, they felt proud. They thought they had won. They told themselves you were probably still thinking about them, still waiting. They got comfortable in that idea. But slowly, day by day, that comfort turned into curiosity, and curiosity turned into anxiety. They began wondering what happened. Why didn't you reach out this time? Why did you suddenly disappear from the pattern they depended on? You became a ghost they couldn't stop sensing. Every notification made their heart skip. Every song, every quote, every place you once shared became a mirror showing them what they'd lost. Silence plays tricks on the mind. The human brain is addicted to stimulation, to texts, validation, reactions. It's like emotional caffeine. When that supply stops, the withdrawal begins. That's why they start checking your page again, or suddenly, accidentally, like something old. They're looking for that emotional fix you used to give so freely. But you're gone now, and the absence of your energy feels like static in their world. That's the part they never expected. They thought your silence would mean peace for them, but instead it became the loudest reminder of how much noise you used to bring into their lives. They don't tell anyone, but it's there, that quiet restlessness, that subtle urge to check on you, that late-night thought that whispers, "Maybe I messed up," because silence forces reflection. It holds up a mirror, and suddenly they're face to face with the truth. They didn't lose attention. They lost a genuine soul. And here's the funny thing, my friends. People never realize your worth while they have you. They realize it when the noise stops, and they can finally hear the echo of everything you were. Let me tell you something powerful. You didn't lose them. You just gave them space to realize what losing you actually feels like. That's what Stoicism teaches us, to hold our peace when others expect reaction, to step back instead of begging for validation. The strong never fight for attention. They let their absence speak. And right now, your silence is doing the talking for you. It's saying, "I know my worth." It's saying, "I no longer chase confusion." It's saying, "If you can't see value in peace, you don't deserve it." You have to understand, folks, silence isn't revenge, it's clarity. It's choosing not to waste energy explaining to someone who refused to listen when they had the chance. It's emotional discipline. It's saying, "I could tell you everything you lost, but I'd rather let you feel it." You didn't go quiet to make them miss you. You went quiet to find yourself again. But here's the twist. In finding yourself, you became unforgettable. They'll come back around eventually. Maybe not with the same words, but with the same curiosity, because silence changes the balance of power. The one who walks away with calmness is never truly the one who lost. You just stopped fighting battles that were beneath your peace. You stopped trying to convince someone who was determined to misunderstand you. That's not losing, that's wisdom. And my friends, let that sink in deeply. Peace is louder than noise. Silence is sharper than revenge. Detachment is stronger than reaction. They thought you disappeared, but you were only leveling up in silence. You became a mystery, and mystery always wins. So, keep your calm, keep your control, keep your silence. It's speaking volumes already. All right, folks, smooth switch here. We've talked about peace, control, and the power of silence. Now let's turn that insight into action. Don't just nod and scroll. Anchor it. When you type something, you make it real. Consider this your line in the sand, my friends. You're done explaining yourself to people who benefited from your noise and only learned your value from your absence. If today is the day you choose calm over chaos, then prove it. Ink it below so your future self can't wiggle out of it later. Here's the push you needed. Drop your stamp in the comments like you're signing a contract with yourself. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. You want results? Then act like the person who gets them. Type the affirmation and hit post. That comment is your first rep in a stronger life. It's small, yes, but it's momentum, and momentum is how you win. Write this in the comments. Short, sharp, unbreakable, quiet, strong, unmoved. Type it exactly. Then press the like button so this message reaches the ones who need it, and subscribe because we're building discipline here brick by brick. Stay with me, my friends. This is only the beginning. Number 1, the echo effect. When you leave, they start hearing you everywhere. Picture this, my friends. They wake up one morning, same bed, same routine, coffee in hand, phone in the other. They open their messages, their feed, maybe scroll through photos, and for just a second, something flickers. A name, a memory, you. It's strange how it happens, isn't it? One moment they're fine, and the next, your absence leaks through the smallest cracks of their day. That's what silence does. It doesn't need to shout, it echoes. At first, they don't even realize it. A song plays in the background, and the melody hits a note that feels familiar. It's the same song you once laughed about together. Or maybe they walk past a place you both used to go to, and suddenly the air feels heavier. They pause for a second, pretending it's nothing. But the truth is, something deep inside them stirs. Because even when you're gone, your energy leaves fingerprints everywhere. That's what the mind does after a strong connection. It replays it. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And folks, that's exactly what happens here. When they try to resist the memory of you, when they try to suppress it, it only grows louder. The human mind doesn't delete. It loops. It replays conversations, texts, smiles, even small things like how you said their name. It's like their brain is trying to fill the empty room you left behind. That's the echo effect. The more they push it away, the stronger it comes back. It's because your energy once gave their world rhythm. Now that rhythm's gone, and they can't find the beat anymore. You became the melody their thoughts hum when everything else feels too quiet. That's how absence works. It turns ordinary moments into haunted ones. They'll smell someone's perfume and swear it's yours. They'll scroll through playlists and land on your song by accident. But nothing is an accident when it comes to memory. You see, the mind is a storyteller. It fills the silence with scenes that used to make it feel alive. That's why they start dreaming about you again, not because they want to, but because their subconscious refuses to forget the comfort you brought. It's like emotional gravity. Every time they drift too far, your memory pulls them back just enough to feel the ache. Now you might be wondering, why is silence so powerful? Why does it hit harder than words? It's because silence gives space for reflection, and reflection gives birth to realization. When you were there, they took your presence for granted. They got used to your messages, your kindness, your warmth. But now, every quiet moment becomes a mirror. They start seeing how much emptier things feel without your energy around. And here's the thing. They might act tough. They might post like they've moved on, laugh louder, or talk about someone new. But those are just noise distractions. Because silence doesn't care what's on their profile. It works in the still hours of the night, when no one's watching, when the mask falls off. That's when your absence screams the loudest. It's funny how the universe works. When you stop speaking, life starts doing the speaking for you. They'll meet someone who reminds them of your patience but not your soul. They'll hear your words in someone else's mouth. But it won't hit the same. Because, folks, there's no replacement for emotional truth. And you gave them that. You didn't just touch their life. You left an imprint on their nervous system. That's not something anyone walks away from easily. Psychology proves this. When emotional bonds break suddenly, the brain searches for balance. It's wired to repeat what felt safe before. So they keep replaying you in their head, not because they choose to, but because the mind is addicted to what once brought comfort. You were their calm in chaos, their validation, their quiet peace. And now, every reminder is like an echo bouncing off the walls of an empty room. Some of you might say, but they haven't called, they haven't texted. Of course not. Pride hates silence because it can't control it. They won't admit they miss you, but their behavior already has. The late-night scrolling, the little signs, the way they linger online longer than usual, it's all energy returning to the source. It's the mind searching for the one frequency it once understood, you. And here's what you must remember, my friends. You are not forgotten. You're simply replaying in their mind in ways you can't see. You became the whisper in the silence, the thought that interrupts their distractions, the face that shows up when they least expect it. That's the power of walking away with peace. You become the echo they can't silence. So if right now you feel invisible, if you think they've forgotten you, trust me, they haven't. You're in their habits, their memories, their senses. You're in the empty spaces between their laughter. You're not gone. You just became everywhere they look. And that's your power, folks. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need to post your glow-up or prove your worth. Your silence is already proving it. Every day they spend pretending, the echo of your name gets louder. That's the irony. They wanted distance, but distance made you unforgettable. So breathe easy. Let the silence work in your favor. Don't break it just to remind them who you are. They already know. They're just pretending they don't. Let the echo do the talking, because the longer you stay silent, the louder your energy becomes, and the more they'll feel it where it hurts most, in their peace. If you're still here listening, this is your moment of strength. Write this in the comments right now. I am the echo. Type it proudly, my friends. It's not just a phrase, it's a declaration that you've learned to let silence speak for you. Number 2. The law of emotional contrast. Your energy was the real noise. You know, my friends, there's a strange law that runs quietly beneath every connection, the law of emotional contrast. It's the invisible shift that happens when something constant disappears. Before you went silent, your presence was like sunlight through the window, always there, always steady. You texted first. You remembered the little things. You were the one who made effort seem effortless, and in doing so, your energy became their comfort zone. They didn't notice how much life your presence brought into their world because it was always available. People rarely appreciate what feels certain. They got used to you being there, like background music. It was always playing, soft, familiar, reassuring. They didn't dance to it anymore. They just lived in it. Your care became the air they breathed. Every good morning message, every check-in, every small act of patience, it all built an emotional rhythm their brain adjusted to. But here's the thing, the mind stops responding to what it expects. That's how human nature works. When something is consistent, it fades into the background. It's only when it's gone that the silence starts to sting. So when you went quiet, when you finally pulled your energy back, that rhythm broke. And suddenly, they felt the contrast, sharp and disorienting. They were swimming in your energy, my friends, and didn't realize they were breathing underwater until you pulled the oxygen. It's like when someone lives by the ocean. The sound of waves becomes normal. They stop hearing it, stop noticing it. But the day they move inland, the silence is unbearable. That's what you did. You took away the sound they didn't know they depended on. The human brain, according to psychology, thrives on contrast. We don't feel warmth unless we've known cold. We don't feel gratitude unless we've experienced loss. And they, the ones who thought they could replace you, are learning that truth the hard way. You see, your energy was the real noise in their world. You filled their empty spaces with something rare, genuine attention, gentle reassurance, emotional safety. It wasn't dramatic or flashy, but it was constant. And that constancy became their unseen anchor. Now that you've gone quiet, they feel weightless, but not the kind that feels free, the kind that feels lost. Somewhere deep down, they're beginning to realize what was real and what was just noise. Because now they scroll through conversations that don't hit the same. They talk to new faces, but the warmth isn't there. They laugh, but the laughter doesn't sink in. And that's emotional contrast, the recognition of value through absence. You can't miss what's still around. You can only miss what's gone. And now your silence has turned into their teacher. Carl Jung once said that people don't perceive things as they are. They perceive them as they are missing. That's the truth biting at them right now. They thought your presence was replaceable, but now they're beginning to see that it was irreplaceable. They thought silence meant you were done, but silence in your case meant evolution. You didn't walk away to punish them, you walked away to protect your energy, and the universe rewarded that choice with peace. Because peace is not passive, it's power under control. You are teaching them what real value sounds like when it's no longer making noise. They can feel your absence vibrating in the spaces they once filled with your name. So don't doubt your worth, my friends. The contrast you created is what's making them remember. They're not haunted by what you said. They're haunted by what you stopped saying. They're not missing your messages. They're missing how your energy made them feel human. That's the kind of loss that lingers. Let them sit with it. Let them learn. Because appreciation doesn't come from presence. It comes from contrast. And you gave them both. If this part hit home for you, take a second, breathe, and anchor your power. Write this in the comments right now. My silence created contrast. Type it and let it sink in, because that's what real strength is. Being calm enough to walk away and wise enough to let the contrast do the talking. Number 3. The dopamine crash. Why their brain misses you, even if they pretend it doesn't. Let's talk science for a moment, my friends. Not cold science, but the kind that explains the ache behind every so-called "I don't care." This next part isn't about feelings alone. It's about chemistry, the invisible wiring of the human mind. You see, when two people connect, the brain doesn't just experience emotion. It releases chemicals. Every text you sent, every call you answered, every little moment of attention triggered small bursts of dopamine in their system. That's the brain's reward chemical. It's the same one that fires when someone wins a game, eats chocolate, or gets a like on social media. But here's the difference. Your energy gave them that hit naturally. You became their living dopamine source. Every compliment, every good morning, every message that showed you cared, it trained their brain to associate you with pleasure, validation, and calm. You made them feel seen. And folks, being seen is one of the most addictive feelings in the world. But like any high, the mind doesn't know moderation. It gets used to the rush, so when you suddenly disappear, when you go silent, their brain doesn't just miss you emotionally, it panics chemically. It's like a system losing power. The same brain that once lit up with your attention now starts to flicker and fade. That's why they start lurking again, checking your profile, rereading old messages, accidentally viewing your story. You know what that is? Withdrawal. That's not curiosity, that's the crash. Their body wants its fix, but you've become the unavailable substance. The conversation, the validation, the attention, gone. So their mind scrambles, searching for substitutes that never hit the same. Because no one else mirrors the chemical comfort your energy gave them. And here's where it gets brutal. You were their emotional caffeine, and now they're crashing without you. They might pretend they're fine, even act like they've moved on, but their body tells a different story. The late-night thoughts, the restlessness, the sudden desire to revisit memories. That's biology talking. That's the dopamine drought. It's not romance, it's neuroscience. Their brain is literally trying to relive the moments that once sparked joy. They may even try to replace you, hoping someone else will give them that same feeling. But the truth is, replacement doesn't work on addiction. It only numbs it temporarily. Because while others might copy your actions, no one can copy your energy. Your vibe was unique. Your tone, your timing, your warmth. That's what made their neurons dance. That's what built the attachment in the first place. Now that you're silent, the silence itself becomes loud enough to hurt. It's the same reason people check their phones every few minutes. Their brains are wired to chase rewards. But you, my friends, became the ultimate reward, and now that reward is gone. So they chase your ghost. They scroll, they wonder, they imagine what you're doing, and each unanswered question fuels the addiction even more. Carl Jung once said that what we deny controls us. They're denying how much they miss you, but that denial is what's eating them alive. Every time they try to forget you, the brain replays a moment that brings you back. That's why silence is such a powerful force. It doesn't need to speak. It makes their mind do all the talking. And let's be honest, this is justice in its purest form. Not revenge, not bitterness, just balance. You poured in energy that went unnoticed. Now nature is correcting that imbalance. You're calm, centered, detached. They're restless, scrolling, replaying, chasing. It's not because they're in love again. It's because you were their dose of peace, and peace once tasted becomes impossible to forget. So don't mistake their silence for indifference. Behind those quiet screens, they're feeling every inch of the void you left behind. And no matter what they do, they can't escape the crash, because you're no longer there to refill the cup. That's what real withdrawal feels like. Now let's lock this in, my friends. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are the calm they crave. That's your new truth. Type it below in the comments right now. I am the calm they crave. Let those words ground you in your power. Number 4. The mirror stage. Silence forces them to see themselves. Here's the thing about silence, my friends. It's not empty. It's reflective. It's like holding up a mirror so clean that even the lies can't hide behind it anymore. Before you went quiet, they had a way of flipping every wrong back onto you. They blamed you for caring too much. They mocked your patience. They acted superior because deep down it made them feel safer. When people don't want to face their own flaws, they project them onto others. You became their emotional punching bag, not because you were weak, but because you were close enough to reveal who they really were. But when you stopped talking, when you stopped explaining, defending, or reacting, something inside them began to shift. Silence has that power. It takes away the noise, and with it, all the excuses. Suddenly there's no one left to argue with, no one left to blame. Just them, and their reflection. Now when they look in the mirror, they don't see the confident version they once showed you. They see the one who pushed too hard, who played too many games, who mistook kindness for weakness. That's the mirror stage. It's not revenge, it's revelation. They start replaying the moments they thought didn't matter. The day they ignored your message, the joke that went too far, the cold tone that made you shrink a little inside. And now, in silence, those moments echo. Guilt is a quiet emotion. It doesn't shout. It seeps. It comes late at night between distractions when the brain is done pretending. That's when the questions start. Why did I say that? What if they never come back? Did I ruin something real? Psychology proves this. Guilt and regret surface strongest in silence, because the mind, when left without noise, turns inward. It looks for unfinished business, and you, my friends, became the unfinished story that keeps replaying in theirs. They used to see your empathy as weakness, but now they see it as strength they never had. They used to think your calm was boring, but now it's the very peace they crave. Your silence didn't punish them. It revealed them. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That's what's happening now. They're not haunted by you. They're haunted by themselves, because your silence became their mirror, and what they saw wasn't you. It was who they became when they lost you. So don't break that silence to explain. Let the mirror do its job. The reflection hurts, but that's how growth begins. You don't need to prove anything anymore. They're learning through consequence what they refuse to learn through conversation. And if you're listening right now, hold on to this truth. Your silence reveals truth. Type that below in the comments. My silence reveals truth. Because it does. It's your quiet wisdom, your unspoken strength. Number 5. The obsession loop. How curiosity turns into craving. At first, they laughed. They told themselves it didn't matter. They acted like your silence meant nothing, like they were perfectly fine without your energy around. But that confidence was short-lived, my friends, because silence has a way of crawling under the skin, slowly turning certainty into curiosity and curiosity into craving. One moment they're proud, telling everyone they've moved on, and the next they're up at midnight, scrolling through old photos, wondering what you're doing now. That's how it starts, the obsession loop. See, silence isn't just quiet, it's uncertain. And uncertainty is the most addictive mental state the human mind can experience. It's what keeps gamblers betting and lovers returning to closed doors. When people can predict you, they feel secure. But when you disappear without explanation, the mind spirals. It starts whispering questions. Where did they go? Who are they with? Why haven't they said anything? It's a mental itch they can't scratch, and every moment without an answer just makes it worse. You stopped talking, but that silence became a mystery. And the human brain hates mysteries. It craves resolution. That's why they start checking your profile again, watching your story, hovering over the message box but never sending anything. They don't know what to say anymore, but they also can't not look. It's not about missing you logically. It's about the mind trying to complete an unfinished puzzle. You were part of their daily pattern, their dopamine loop, and now that pattern has been broken, so their thoughts keep circling back again and again, trying to find where they lost control. It's strange, isn't it? When you were available, they didn't think twice. But now that you're gone, their imagination has turned you into a legend. They start filling in the blanks, picturing you laughing somewhere new, getting attention, glowing up. They tell themselves stories about why you haven't reached out, and those stories grow more dramatic every time they think about you. That's how curiosity becomes craving. Because what the mind can't see, it starts to create. You've probably seen it before, that sudden, accidental, like on your old post, the random story view, the meaningless text out of nowhere. Hey, how have you been? It's not random. It's a symptom of obsession. They're testing if the door is still open, trying to relieve the pressure of not knowing. But here's the truth. You're no longer part of their guessing game. You stopped playing, and that's what makes you unforgettable. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Right now, their unconscious is running the show. They can't stop thinking, wondering, replaying, and it all comes back to the silence you created. You stopped chasing closure, and in doing so, you became their unfinished chapter, the one they keep rereading but can't rewrite. So don't break the silence to explain. Let them wonder. Let them feel the emptiness that curiosity brings, because the longer you stay quiet, the deeper that craving becomes. You stopped texting, but now your silence is writing the story in their mind, on repeat. If you feel that power returning, take a second and write this in the comments. My silence writes the story. Say it like you mean it, because it's true. Number 6. Silent power. When you stop explaining, they start imagining. Silence, my friends, is not emptiness, it's influence. When you pull back and stop explaining yourself, you create space for imagination to take over. And that space? It's powerful. It's psychological projection in motion. The same people who once claimed to know you so well suddenly can't read you anymore. You've gone from being predictable to being mysterious. And nothing, absolutely nothing, haunts the human mind more than not knowing. They start to overthink everything. They replay the last conversation, dissect every word, every pause, every emoji you used. They start wondering if you've moved on, if you're happier now, if you've finally realized your worth and found someone better. Their pride says you haven't, but their gut? It's screaming that you have. That's what silence does. It makes their imagination louder than your words ever could. You see, when you were explaining, they felt secure, they knew where they stood, but now they're in the dark, and darkness activates the most primal part of the mind, fear. Fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough, fear that you've outgrown them. The mind begins creating scenarios because it can't stand unanswered questions. They start imagining you living your best life, glowing, laughing, unfazed. It doesn't even matter whether you actually are. The silence makes it believable, because imagination always exaggerates and guilt always paints you in a better light. Think of it like this. Your silence is the stage, and their thoughts are the actors performing a play they can't stop watching. Each scene they imagine shows you winning, thriving, evolving, living peacefully while they're stuck wondering. And that's the secret power of mystery. The less you say, the more they feel. When people can't predict you, they start obsessing over possibilities. They'll scroll through your profile just to see if you've changed something. They'll compare themselves to anyone who interacts with you. They'll analyze your silence like it's a code waiting to be cracked. But here's the truth. There is no code. You've simply chosen peace. Carl Jung once said that what we project onto others reveals what we fear about ourselves. That's exactly what's happening here. Your silence is forcing them to face their own insecurities. They're projecting their guilt, jealousy, and regret onto the idea of you. Every imagined scenario they create says more about them than about you. If they think you've moved on too fast, that's their fear of being replaced. If they think you're happier, that's their regret talking. And isn't it ironic? When you were available, they couldn't see your value. But now that you've disappeared, they've turned you into a myth, a version of you that's larger than life. That's the beauty of silence. It lets their mind do the chasing. Mystery doesn't chase, my friends. It lets the mind do the chasing. You don't have to post more, explain yourself, or prove anything. Just stay still. Let your calm be the noise, because the mind will always fill silence with the loudest story possible, and that story, every single time, will end with you shining. So stay composed. Keep that mystery alive. Don't hand them clarity they didn't earn. The less you say, the more they'll feel. And eventually, they'll realize that silence isn't distance, it's dominance. You stop chasing, and that's exactly why their thoughts can't stop chasing you. If this hits deep, take a second to ground your strength and type this in the comments. My silence is power. Say it like a declaration, because it is. Your silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. Number 7. Return of the ghost, when pride finally breaks. You can almost feel it, can't you, my friends? That subtle shift in the air. The same person who once ghosted you, who acted cold, dismissive, and certain that you'd never stop caring, suddenly starts moving differently. A story view here, a random like there, maybe even a short message like, "Hey, how have you been?" They'll pretend it's casual, as if it's nothing, but deep down, you know exactly what's happening. The silence has done its job. It's been echoing in their mind for too long, and now their pride is starting to crack. It always begins this way, small signs, cautious testing of the waters, because they don't want to admit they miss you. They just want to feel you again without saying it out loud. That's what happens when curiosity, guilt, and emotional withdrawal finally reach their breaking point. They told themselves they didn't need you, but the absence became unbearable. They tried replacing your energy, distracting their thoughts, numbing their emotions. But nothing worked. Every distraction faded faster than your memory. So here they are, quietly circling back, hoping to feel that same stability your presence once gave them. This is the irony of silence. The one who ghosts always ends up being haunted. They thought leaving you gave them control, but all it really did was leave them chasing their own shadows. Because when someone is used to your emotional warmth, your patience, your steady presence, the withdrawal hits differently. It's not just missing a person, it's missing peace. You were their balance, and silence tipped that scale hard. Now they can't stop wondering if you'd even respond. They can't tell if you still care, and that uncertainty burns. You've become unpredictable, and unpredictability is magnetic. People chase what they can't figure out. It's a psychological truth. Mystery stirs desire, and detachment multiplies value. When you were available, they took comfort for granted. But when you disappeared, your absence became the most unpredictable force in their life. They don't know what version of you exists now, the one who'd reply instantly, or the one who's already outgrown them completely. And that question alone keeps them up at night. They'll frame it as curiosity, but it's not. It's a craving for the emotional safety they once had in you. They're not coming back out of pity, they're coming back out of psychological need. They want to feel grounded again, to touch what once felt real. But the thing is, you've changed. You're no longer waiting for their return, you're simply witnessing it. You've become the calm they abandoned, and now they're the storm looking for peace. They wanted control, now they want closure. But closure, my friends, lives with you. You don't owe them a response, an explanation, or another chance. The lesson has already been delivered. Their pride brought the silence. Your silence brought the truth. So if this part hit home, take a deep breath and claim your power. Type this in the comments right now. Closure lives with me. Because it does. You don't chase ghosts, you let them find their way back to the mirror. Number 8. The loudest comeback. You didn't chase, you were remembered. Here we are, my friends, the full circle, the part where silence proves it was never weakness but wisdom. You didn't fight, you didn't chase, you didn't post for attention or craft messages hoping to be noticed. You simply stepped back and let time do the talking. That's the beauty of restraint. It teaches louder than reaction ever could. Your silence became your loudest comeback. It spoke to their guilt, their curiosity, and their need for control. And it won every argument without saying a single word. They'll never admit it publicly, but deep down, they remember everything. They remember the peace you carried, the way you made them feel understood without judgment, the way your energy steadied their storms. And now, with that gone, they're realizing something you knew all along. Genuine connection doesn't fade. It echoes. That's what's happening right now. Your absence became the sound they can't tune out. Every time they think they've moved on, your calm replays in their mind like a song that refuses to stop. And here's the truth. You didn't need to prove anything. You didn't need to post about your healing or flaunt your worth for validation. Time and absence did the work for you. The longer you stayed silent, the clearer your message became. You are irreplaceable. People always circle back to the energy that made them feel seen. Maybe not right away, maybe not in the way you imagined, but they do. It's not arrogance, it's psychology. What we take for granted eventually becomes what we crave the most. So yes, they will come back, maybe late, maybe quietly, maybe pretending they just wanted to check in. But it won't be random. It'll be the pull of unfinished emotion. Because your silence left a mark they'll never erase. It rewired their memory of you. You became the standard they'll measure everyone else against, and the peace they can't find anywhere else. And the most powerful part? You didn't chase that. You were remembered. That's the difference between reaction and mastery. Stoicism teaches that peace is found not by controlling others, but by mastering yourself. You found peace in restraint. They found chaos in your calm. You stopped feeding the noise, and they got lost in it. That's the ultimate reversal. You walked away in silence, and they're the ones making noise now, trying to feel whole again. When you stop speaking their language, the language of validation, emotion, and ego, they're forced to learn yours. And your language, my friends, is silence. Silence that commands attention. Silence that holds weight. Silence that speaks of confidence, strength, and emotional freedom. You've become the quiet lesson they'll never forget. So here's your final reminder. Don't break the silence just because they miss the sound of your voice. Let them miss it. Let them chase it. Let them realize what peace actually feels like once they've lost it. You've already won without even trying.